Hello and welcome. For those who don't know me, I am the Niseach chef. I can't believe it's been almost a year since my last message of thanks and the video I put up with my festive orange and the memories of Christmas. Although everything we do and involved with, we continuously thank everyone for their support and the messages of thanks throughout the year. Although I always get an idea on the 11th hour and I have to share it with people. But to be fair, that could be any time of year when it comes to food and me. Today's video is slightly different. I want to bring you into my world, how I deliver and continue to deliver my standard and my pursuit of perfection in all we do and the ethos that goes into it. Taking the stem of an idea, the very beginning is how we start in what we do. That could be from people getting in touch with us, creating the menus, and delivering the standard and performance required. Now, I know I hark on about this, and again, it's the idea, the stem of an idea, the dish itself, the creativity behind it, and if there's theatrics to be added, we'll add the theatrics. Now, what I do and how I come up with ideas, I'm blessed. I can describe it as my inheritance from my mother and my grandmother. And I'm so lucky to have seen things firsthand when it comes to food. Not just through my mother, my grandmother, but my father as well. And my grandfather, be it my mother's baking, her cooking, my grandmother's baking, the camcropic, the guga, my grandfather collecting seaweed from the shore, work in the field with my father's pot roast. There's so many things I could choose from that I have seen firsthand, and that is a blessing for me. Food for me is my football ticket. I have the memories and knowledge from growing up, the stories behind the food, the creativity and skill sets to learn, the memories from the dishes themselves, and the option to be as theatrical as I possibly can and still have the yearn to learn. So I'm going to try and relay this message today in this video through my Christmas pudding. Beginning of October, I must emphasize that because I want this Christmas pudding to mature. Any less than 3 months is an absolute no. Don't even bother. And the reason I wanted to showcase this is because the work we put in now, the beginning of October, is going to yield that perfection come the big day itself in December. So in front of me here, I've got what we know as mise en place, or what I like to call it is a hulacal na hachain agus an poitchfun in dressar. Now, what does that mean? It basically means, when you translate it into English, it kind of doesn't make sense. It means that everything is basically in its place and the chamber pot is in the dresser. And that, to me, just means everything is in order and everything is good. Now, there is no specific recipe for this. Well, there is, but I'm not shy on sharing recipes with people. And the reason for that is, if I'm holding on to something and not sharing that, then I become stale. I'd rather give out a recipe to people so they can enjoy it, and for me then to maybe perhaps evolve and make that better myself personally. But there are certain things that I do sell and do put on menus that I do need to keep to myself for now, just for now. So I'm going to start off with all my dry ingredients. Plain flour, our suet, our blanched almonds. Now I've just cut these in half. Even though this is not a dainty pudding, I don't want it to be too laborious on the palate. So I've just cut them down in half. Our caster sugar, demerara sugar, our breadcrumbs. Now this loaf actually it's a couple of days old, stale bread as they call it. It's a pumpkin and sunflower seed one. So even though I've blitzed that, it's going to add some additional texture to the pudding itself. Our raisins, sultanas. Now in the bowl here, there's so much going on here today that for each stage of filming, I've got things on the go. So I've actually topped the currants up with a few extra sultanas. It's not a big deal. A recipe, remember, it's just a guideline. You can change and tweak it, and this is the exciting part of it as well. Even though I'm using very traditional ingredients, we could perhaps use things more exotic, dried pineapple, papaya, things like that, so we can really play around with the recipe. So a few extra sultanas in there isn't gonna be the end of the world. Our chopped mixed peel. I think we're going to need a bigger boat. Now the first version, now this is the important part when it comes to food. It's the knowing and understanding. The first version of the Christmas pudding was known as fermenti. It was, again, like most things in the bygone days, was savoury. And as things evolved, they become sweeter and sweeter. So fermenti was basically a porridge with maybe minced beef or mutton, spices, wine. My spices are cinnamon, touch of salt, ginger, allspice, and nutmeg. Give that a really good mix. Now really I should be starting from right to left or from east to west, because the story behind it would be, and his granddad put this into my head many moons ago, that the three wise men travelled from the east to the west to see baby Jesus. And Gran used to always say it would be bad luck to start any other way. Now it was in about, I think it was 1644, this pudding was almost banned, or was banned, by the Puritans. People thought that it was so sinfully rich that it was not good for God-fearing people. But that was aborted by King George, who re-established the pudding. There we go, it's had a nice mix now. It wasn't until early the 19th century that the pudding itself used to be, or began being associated with Christmas. Now I'm just going to chop my apple, and then I'm going to peel it. I must do this live because it saddens me when I see a black apple going into something, and I've done many demos where that has happened, so I'm sure I could just spend a few seconds. In the bowl I have got the zest of an orange, zest of a lemon, and the juice of both. So I'm just going to grate my apple straight into that. And there's a cook called Eliza Acton who first published the recipe in her book back in 1845. Even though she was a cook, she was more known for her poetry than her cooking. Although the cooking, I must say, she was the first person to start recording actual recipes in weights and measures. So she really is up there with the greats. I'm going to add my couple of eggs. Give that a little mix. And to my bowl. Now you'll be surprised at the amount of liquid, or the little liquid, that has gone into this so far. But you can see it's beginning to turn into a form of batter. Now my twist on this would be Guinness instead of traditionally milk. I mean, brandy's good in it, sherry's good in it, but I find that the Guinness just gives it this depth and complexity and richness. Yes, the pudding, the rich pudding requires more richness. You can see that now turning into a batter. Touch more Guinness. And the smells already. This is what I get super excited. At the beginning of October, we've got these festive spices, the fruits going on in there, which means I'm already super excited about Christmas already. Here we've got a nice dropping consistency on that. The bowl. Take my spatula, waste absolutely nothing. Now even though we've got the suet in here, I've just lightly greased the bowl. You don't have to, but it just gives that extra bit of confidence that when you're upturning this pudding, that you're not trying to get it out of the bowl onto your best crockery. I'm just going to give that a... Now at this stage, what I would do is I would leave that overnight to settle, so all the flavours are going to come together. The batter itself will activate that fruit, just become a bit more plump. And so just a good rest overnight, covered with a damp cloth, and then we'll come back to steaming it. So now our pudding has rested overnight. I'm now going to show you a nice simple way of preparing the pudding for the pan itself. Now, I'm sure many of you have these traditional three-tiered steamers. As you can see from this pudding, that would not fit into one of these domestic steamers. When we're doing this for the restaurants and events, I do have an industrial three-tier steamer itself, which would yield a multitude of puddings at a time. But we're going to keep it traditional. We're going with a pan of water. So I've taken a sheet of paper, folded it a couple of times, greased it with paper, and find the middle roughly, and then we can just take it. Et voila. Pop it on there. I know there's many videos where you can see people putting the greaseproof paper on, pleating it for lifting out of the pan. No, keep it simple. That's really just to stop any water droplets from hitting the pudding itself. Then we can take a bit of cling film on there, pop that on. No water's going to get in there, but just in case something slits, no water will get into that. So now I'm going to pop that into the pan, and that is going to steam for 8 hours. It's a long time, so you must keep an eye on the water level, top it up as required, and just keep it just simmering away for a nice 8 hours. So here we have the pan. Is the biggest, well, it's not the biggest pan I've got. It's the one that's suitable for the pudding itself. This is one of Granny's old pans. Perfect for it. No handle. That's the best kind of equipment that I love. Anyway, our pudding. Now the smell, it is absolutely quality. So I'm going to remove the cling film. Remove the parchment paper. Protect it from the steam. That will dry out. Get an even finish on that. And earlier I should have mentioned as well, tradition would have been to put a sixpence into the pudding as well. And whoever finds the coin would bring them luck. Obviously sixpence has gone out of fashion, perhaps a pound coin. It's at this stage as well, it gets better. When we used to do these in the restaurant, a moment with the kitchen family on upturned stock pots to have the first tasting in October, splash of cream. It just gives us a moment together with the kitchen family, professionally, just to share a moment. And even now, it's delicious. So 3 months' time, we know we've got something super exciting ahead of us. Once the pudding has gone cold, I shall re-wrap that in some cling film, wrap it well. I'm going to store that in a small cardboard box, somewhere cool and dark, and just let it do its thing. Well into the festivities, nice buzz going on, and here is my Christmas pudding, the grand finale. You can see itself, this would yield 12. It is very rich, remember. A small slice is really all you need. So we've got the idea, we've got the story behind it, now the theatrics. Generous amount of brandy on there. And if we took that to the table, I'm sure all the guests would be in awe. Thank you very much, folks. Thank you very much for your love and support over the last year. It's much appreciated. So in my pursuit of excellence and to deliver our standard, it's all about the work and research in the beginning. The memory, the dish, the story, the theatrics. But one thing for sure is that even though the meal may come to an end, the memories for us last forever. Very Merry Christmas to everyone. Thanks for all the support and love over the last year. We wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you, and it's very, very much appreciated. So thank you all. Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.